I'm Teresa Schmidt, Director of Policy and Governance at TAFE Directors Australia. Today's topic is the power of TAFE to prepare a future-ready nursing workforce. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of all the different lands upon which we meet today. I'm coming to you today from Gubbi Gubbi country, and I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us in the discussion today. If you would like to introduce yourself and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that you are on, please feel free to do so in the chat. Wanyanullum, welcome to you all. Today's TAFE Talks event has been planned in conjunction with TDA's National Enrolled Nurse Advisory Council, NENAC, to celebrate the ongoing development and importance of nursing as a profession and to recognise International Nurses Day, which falls on May the 12th, 2025. We will discuss the skills that nurses will need, how qualifications can build adaptability and keep pace with change. You'll learn how TAFEs are leading innovation in nurse education to meet future healthcare needs, including Holmesglen Institute's FutureReady project and TAFE Queensland's use of AR, VR and AI to transform nurse training. Let me begin by introducing our speakers for today. Joining us from the Office of the Chief Nurse is Ms. Frances Rice. Frances Rice is the Senior Nursing and Midwifery Advisor to the Commonwealth Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer in the Department of Health and Aged Care. As a registered nurse, Frances provides specialist and strategic policy advice to ministers, the executive and internal and external stakeholders on complex matters in nursing, midwifery, the health system, health workforce, regulation and education. She's passionate about growing management skills and knowledge and interaction with regulation in the nursing profession. Frances has a Bachelor of Nursing Science from James Cook University and a Master of Business Administration from the Australian National University. Also joining us today is Rosalie Staggard from HumanAbility Jobs and Skills Council. Rosalie is an innovative vocational education and training professional with an extensive experience in developing and implementing education programs that align with industry needs and standards. As the Director of Training and Product Development, Rosalie is committed to enhancing educational outcomes through strategic leadership and a forward-thinking approach. Her dedication to fostering industry connections and promoting excellence in training has contributed to the advancement of vocational education. We have two presenters from Holmesglen Institute, Dr. Harrison Bergen and Kim Kenwell, who will discuss their approach to preparing future-ready nurses through innovative curriculum design within the Diploma of Nursing. Dr. Harrison Bergen is a Distinguished Research Fellow at Holmesglen Institute, where he contributes significantly to the advancement of research and education. With a robust background in health sciences education, Dr. Bergen has been pivotal in driving innovative research projects and fostering a collaborative learning environment. Dr. Bergen is recognised for his expertise in research design, ethics, disability education and nursing education. His dedication to research excellence and student feedback has made him a respected figure within the academic community. Dr. Bergen is actively involved in the aged care sector, demonstrating his commitment to both professional growth and community engagement. His contributions to the field have earned him several accolades and recognition from his peers. Welcome, Harrison. Also from Holmesglen Institute, we have Kim Kenwell, the lead Digital Learning, Innovation and Simulation Technologies. Kim is a dedicated and accomplished professional committed to excellence and passionate about education. She has led innovative learning activities across the faculty, helping to shape the future of health education. Her innovative approach and dedication to student success has earned her recognition among peers and students. Kim has a background in critical care nursing, nursing education, digital learning design, and is currently completing a Master's in Clinical Simulation at Monash University. At Holmesglen, Kim continues to inspire and lead, fostering an environment of learning and development. Her vision and leadership are integral to the ongoing success and growth within the Faculty of Health Science, Community and Social Studies. Finally, we will then hear from Sky Giannino from TAFE Queensland. Sky is a registered nurse and the education team leader of the clinical labs at TAFE Queensland Gold Coast. She has a Master of Health Professional Education and a keen passion for practical and simulation-based learning techniques. Sky's presentation will focus on TAFE Queensland's use of Microsoft HoloLens and a mixed reality platform to bring learning to life and bring new meaning to authentic and experiential learning. Educators are using the technology to project holographic patient scenarios and/or anatomy models into the clinical laboratories and classrooms to optimise assessment and critical thinking skills. This presentation will include a brief overview of the technology, how it has been integrated into curriculum, and the student response and outcomes. So welcome, Sky. Now, before I hand over to Francis to kick us off, I wanted to let you know that today's session is being recorded and the recording will be made available to everyone who registered for this TAFETalks session and on the TDA website. Closed captioning is also available for this event. If you have any questions that you would like to pose to our speakers today, please use the Q&A box throughout the session and we'll come back to those at the end. You might also use the chat for a discussion amongst yourselves during the session, but it will be difficult for us to monitor the chat for questions. So please use that Q&A function for your burning and important questions for the presenters. It now gives me great pleasure to hand over to Francis Rice from the Office of the Chief Nurse to kick off today's discussion. Thank you, Francis.
Thanks, Teresa. Yuma, and good afternoon, everybody. Along with a number of people on the webinar today, I'm speaking to you from the lands of the Ngunnawal people in Canberra. And I will explain that I'm from the Office of the Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer in the Commonwealth Department of Health and Aged Care. So I come to you from that perspective today, and it's really exciting to be invited to speak to you on what does a future-ready nursing workforce look like. And a lot of my information has come from the development of the National Nursing Workforce Strategy, which we've been developing here in the Commonwealth in partnership with Victoria, all jurisdictions and nursing stakeholders, including consumers. And I've got a QR code in the corner of my slide today that will take you to our website where we've got a whole heap of information on the National Nursing Workforce Strategy. Importantly, the strategy has been built from a significant evidence base. We've done significant consultation and extensive consultation across the country in order to develop the strategy. And that's put us in a really good position and enables me to speak to you today about some of the skills and knowledge that we're going to need in our future nursing workforce. So on the slide today, I've got a number of concepts around the outside with nurses at the centre. And they all, I think, have equal importance in terms of the nursing workforce and how we build that to provide the healthcare and meet the health needs of Australian communities. So the first one that it's quite obvious, is the clinical knowledge and skills. So we need our nursing workforce to be prepared to meet the health needs and the aged care needs of our communities going forwards. Around the outside of my slide today, I have 4 areas: aged care, primary care, mental health, and preventative health. We work in a health system with finite resources, and that includes people and funding. So when we talk about clinical knowledge and skills, these are areas of increasing focus by government and governments. And one of the ways that we address some of these areas is through preventative health. When we've got a finite amount of resources of people and funding, if we look towards more preventative health, then we can work with people on keeping them healthy and well and not needing the acute system as much. So then we don't need to build new hospitals and staff them. Aged care, we will all be exposed to, unless you're working in a paediatric environment, I would say. Aged care is everywhere else. Not only does it occur in residential facilities, more and more people are aging in their homes, but regardless of where you work in the health system, you will come across people who are aging and experiencing the health challenges that come with that. And so we really need to have a whole of health workforce approach to aged care, and certainly nursing as the biggest health workforce needs to be front and centre of that. Mental health is an increasing burden in society. More and more people are experiencing mental health challenges throughout their lifetime, some with conditions that last significant periods of time, and some that will experience short challenges in their mental health. And we need to be skilled to deal with those and support people through those challenges across the lifespan. And primary care is, again, a focus of particularly of the Commonwealth Government, and working in that preventative health space and how we support people to stay healthy and well in their communities. So the clinical knowledge and skills is very much a key role of ours, and we all work very well in the system to develop that. But there is a focus in our education system through, I guess, exposure to clinical placements and those sorts of things around that acute system. And we need to work together to start to focus our learning and our skills and knowledge in some of the other areas where we know that there's an increasing burden. Regulation is an area that we all need to have a really good working knowledge of. It's the system that supports us to work to our best, to our maximum capacity. And if you aren't engaging with regulation and don't know how it influences your work, then there's a challenge to that. So not only are we regulated by the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia through our registration, but we're also regulated by federal legislation, state legislation, and also the policies and procedures of our employers. And we need to have really good knowledge and understanding of all of those pieces of work and how they influence our scope of practice and how we work. Technology is becoming more and more a part of how we're working now, and we need to be able to use it to enhance our care delivery and services to communities. And there are people today who are going to talk to you more about that, and I am so pleased that they're doing that for you. But more and more, we will need to be engaging with technology and using it, and using it as an adjunct to both learning and care delivery. Influence is becoming more and more important in terms of how we do our work as nurses, and that's influence of a lot of the boxes around the circle here today. Influence of colleagues, influence of consumers and the public and their health behaviours and their health knowledge and literacy, influence in terms of government's politics and policy, the information at the bottom, influence in terms of how we educate nurses who come after us, but also those who've come before us. When there are changes in education and new information is delivered, it's incumbent on the people who have that information to share that with the people who may not have learnt that. And so how we influence the telling of those stories. Data is a huge part of everything we do as nurses. Every single thing we do as nurses is a point of data. And whether you realise that or not, data drives everything we do. It's incredibly important in terms of the policy we develop. We need to be able to understand it in terms of the metrics that we are measuring from people, including the medications we deliver and what time and when, and responses to those medications, but the observations we make of people's clinical observations, but also the other observations we make of their social and emotional state, and all of those sorts of things, as well as the data of how we're working, how we fund things, how the system works together in harmony, and how that might compare to other models of care and those sorts of things. And nurses being able to interact with data, engage and interpret data has always been part of our role, but is becoming more and more of a focus in terms of how we state our business case for anything that we want to do. We need to have the data and the evidence to support all of that. storytelling is something that people might not think about as an important skill for nurses, but something I think we're very privileged to do as a profession is interact with people in often their most challenging moments in their lives. People generally don't want to be in hospital, and so or seeking health services, because usually that means they're unwell. And so how do we use storytelling to build rapport with people in a really short period of time? We need to use storytelling to educate each other and consumers and build that health literacy, and we need to use it as part of our data and evidence and how we build the profession. As the largest profession in Australia, we make up 54% of the workforce as nurses. So we have a responsibility in terms of how we deliver our care and how we support our communities in telling the stories of good health, good opportunity, good new knowledge and evidence that's being supported and that's influencing the delivery of healthcare, and how we tell the stories that other people who are going to speak to you today about how we can develop the skills and knowledge in this workforce going forwards. Government's politics and policy can be a challenging area for people to navigate, and I think as a nurse who's working in government, I had a very steep learning curve coming in, but I think the skills of understanding governments and their decision making, not only at the federal level, we just had the election on the weekend, the lights gone out, but how you engage through your state or territory government, how you engage with local council and their policy developments, and then also how you engage with the policy development of your employers, and how you bring your evidence-based knowledge and skills and learning into influencing those policies and how they might influence how you're working. So there is a whole heap of skills that we have in our tool bag, in our kit bag. A lot of those are taught to us through whatever mechanism we're taught. In this context at TAFE, we're in a registered training organisation, but a lot of it will come with time and knowledge. And one of our values as a profession is lifelong learning, and we need to be open to embracing all of these additional skill sets that we might need to grow with over time in our careers, and how we go about doing that will be different for each person, but it is something that we need to embrace and a challenge for all of us to navigate the new skills and knowledge that are required of the nurses that are coming in the future, but also those of us who are already established in the profession and how we engage in that space going forwards. What underpins all of this, there's flavours of this, is how we provide culturally safe care to our First Nations people, to Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander people in this country, and how important that is for us. And if we can get that right for First Nations peoples, then we're more likely to get it right for other culturally and linguistically diverse communities across Australia, and anyone else who comes from a vulnerable background who may not have the health literacy or the ability to access the preventative healthcare or the primary healthcare that they need. And so it's incumbent on all of us in the profession currently and those educating our future professions, our future nursing members, to make sure we're providing those environments that are culturally safe for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to learn and grow with us in a profession, but also to provide healthcare to those people. So I think I'll pause there, Teresa, and looking forward to answering some questions later on. Thank you.
Thanks, Frances. Please, I'm sure there'll be some questions for Frances. Please hold those over to the end, put them in the Q&A, and Frances might answer them if they're ones that she can type an answer to. Otherwise, we'll come back to those at the end. So now adding on to this presentation, we've now got Rosalie from HumanAbility, who's going to discuss the way that the qualification design can build in future capability and flexibility. So Rosalie's slides are just coming up, so I'll welcome you now, Rosalie, to begin. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Teresa, and it was great to hear Francis's overview of the skills that are actually required. I'm on the lands of the Wadjuk people of the Noongar Nation here in Perth today. Normally I'd be back in Melbourne on Wurundjeri land. The Diploma of Nursing was last reviewed in 2020 and released in 21. And, over the last 5 years or so, enrolments have remained quite steady in that qualification from a range of about 25,000 a year up to 27,000 a year. Over the next 5 years, it is expected that the size of the enrolled and mothercraft nurses workforce will increase by around 10%. Over the last couple of years, we've had stakeholders identify and raise several concerns with the existing qualifications. When the qualification was last reviewed, it appears the approach was very much focused on what was wrong with the qualification and an emphasis on the units of competency, rather than taking a more holistic approach that considers the job roles, functions performed, knowledge required, and the settings in which people work. The qualifications reflect the 2012 standards for training packages, which in some ways has encouraged greater specificity, particularly around assessment requirements. This has resulted in what is perceived as a significant number of assessments that are required, particularly if units are delivered and assessed in isolation of each other, rather than looking for opportunities to cluster units and develop holistic assessment tools. The level of specificity has also been driven by certain RTO compliance practices where those responsible for managing audits in organisations prefer to have units delivered and assessed separately so that they have neat paper trails if audited. Securing work placements has been a real challenge. This was exacerbated during COVID, where RTO struggled to secure work placements for diploma students. It was quite evident during this period that health service organisations prioritised degree students over diploma students. During COVID, I was working with the Victorian government, and one of the things that we identified, I think it was at the end of 2020 or mid-21, we had a backlog of around 15,000 students that weren't able to complete qualifications due to work placement requirements. And that was across a range of different disciplines, but nursing was one of those that was severely impacted. Funding arrangements have a significant impact on delivery of training, particularly when funding may be reduced. Nominal hours are used for purchasing purposes, and they identify the number of hours government typically will pay for delivery of training. However, nominal hours don't neatly align with volume of learning, which identifies the notional duration of all activities needed to achieve the learning outcomes of a unit of competency. And this includes the time spent by a student undertaking unsupervised individual activities like assignments and projects. It also has an impact on delivery of the Diploma of Nursing, where a number of assessments are expected to occur in the workplace. It's often challenging to manage the associated costs of assessment within the current funding models. And then a recent issue that's been raised with us while we've been consulting on the review of the Certificate 3 in Health Service Assistants, which includes the Assistant in Nursing specialisation, has been the centralisation and standardisation of resource development. Some trainers and assessors have indicated that they don't have the flexibility to modify and adapt resources to meet their local needs. Often the driver behind standardisation is to support consistency, minimise costs, set a minimum standard for quality of delivery, and to assist with meeting compliance requirements. However, developing comprehensive training resources that allow very little opportunity for adapting or modifying can limit opportunities for individual trainers to be innovative and to meet the specific needs associated with certain student cohorts or geographical requirements. If we look at some of the drivers of change, currently we have the National Nursing Workforce Strategy, which Francis referred to. There's also the Scope of Practice review that's being led by Professor Mark Cormack. It's expected to be completed and released by the end of the year. This review will examine the barriers and incentives health professionals face working to their full scope of practice in primary care and aim to reform the primary care workforce to deliver high quality, equitable, integrated and sustainable healthcare for the Australian community. In addition to this, there are concerns and issues that have been identified and raised by stakeholders with the existing design and that need to be addressed in the near future. If we look at the future design opportunities and how we can support the future workforce of enrolled nurses, we expect a review of the qualification will commence in the second half of 2026 and be completed by end of 2027. This will provide an opportunity to implement features of a new design for qualifications that was endorsed by skills ministers at the end of last year. The new purpose-led principle-based approach supports the development of high-quality qualifications that prepare graduates for future jobs, respond to industry changes, bring in educational perspectives, and make the vet system easier to understand and engage with. The new design principles include a qualification-first approach to replace the traditional unit-first approach, giving industries more choice, recognising that different sectors need different approaches, and that will result in making the vet system more responsive and easier to navigate. For highly regulated industries such as traditional trades and potentially nursing, where there is a requirement to align to the ANMAC standards and scope of practices for nurses, in these instances, qualifications will potentially retain clear, structured training requirements to ensure workers meet industry standards. For broader job roles and qualifications, like the Certificate 3 in Health Service Assistants, where there are around 6 to 7 different types of job outcomes, qualifications will allow more transferability, so learners can gain skills that transfer across different job roles and occupations. For vocational learning, qualifications provide options for innovations such as cross-sectorial learning and foundational skills, helping to deliver stronger educational outcomes for learners. This is a move away from a one-size-fits-all approach, enabling qualifications to be tailored to meet industry needs. The approach enables jobs and skill councils to consider the purpose of a qualification and how that purpose drives its design. A qualification may sit within, across, or between different purposes along a continuum and recognise different industry needs. A qualification-first approach will also replace the traditional unit-first approach. This allows us to build some qualifications around knowledge and skills progression rather than only having units focused on functions and tasks. As training package product developers, we'll have the choice between two types of units. The first is the typical unit of competency that is used to describe the functions and tasks of a job. The second type of unit, which is referred to as an application of skills and knowledge, or ASK for a shorter version, will outline the broader knowledge, be more flexible in format, focusing on transferable knowledge and skills that learners will gain from training. This will provide more choice over how skills and knowledge are framed. And if you think about the nursing qualification, there's opportunities to use these new types of units for areas such as anatomy and physiology, which is one of the units that is currently in the system. Foundation skills will be consistently presented as a qualification and skill set outcome and become optional for units of competency. It's expected that this will make the foundational skills more meaningful and transferable. Development will be guided by strengthened quality principles, including removing training package duplication and unnecessary prescription where possible. Industry data and evidence will be used to guide the skills and knowledge required in training package products and will engage with educators and industry experts to ensure qualifications are high quality and relevant for labour market needs. And there'll also be a focus on both the learner and industry needs. The changes provide opportunities to reduce overprescription, duplication, and narrow specificity in some training package products. These changes will contribute to fewer updates, making it easier to maintain consistency. There will be more of a focus on the purpose of qualifications, allowing greater innovation in how training is designed and delivered. There'll also be a focus on what learners need and more flexibility in how training can be adapted to meet industry needs. And a greater focus on skill and knowledge transferability, equipping learners with more flexibility to move across occupations and industries. This should result in greater longevity and durability, reducing the need for constant upgrades. The changes will come into effect from July this year, with updated qualifications rolling out progressively from the end of the year. The changes won't happen all at once. The transition will depend on when relevant qualifications are updated and the varying needs of industry sectors. The reform is an evolution, not a complete overhaul, building on the strengths of the VET system, preserving what works, while at the same time providing greater flexibility in the design of qualifications that make it easier for industries to shape training package products to meet their needs, and enabling more relevant, flexible training while maintaining the integrity, clarity, and national consistency that underpin the VET system. We're looking forward to working with the new design model and expect that it will assist in addressing a number of concerns and issues that RTOs and industry have had with certain qualifications, including the Diploma of Nursing, which we will have a review commencing next year, and look forward to working with many of you that are online today. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosalie. Okay, so I think there were some fairly excited people about some of the qualification reforms, so you might have some questions about that. In the meantime, I will pass over to Harrison and Kim from Holmesglen to present their approach to innovation and curriculum redesign within the Diploma of Nursing and the outcomes. So over to you, Harrison and Kim, your show.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Thank you all for being here today. We're joining from Holmesglen in Melbourne, from the Wurundjeri land of the Kulin Nation, and we're really excited to share with you today some of our outcomes from our innovation into our medication safety redesign within the Diploma of Nursing. So this all started as a collaborative project between Holmesglen and the VSA to do a care economy skills lab with the aim to really improve how the Diploma of Nursing works and better prepare the graduates for the ever-changing landscape of nursing as it starts to evolve so incredibly rapidly. And we kind of started all this by really talking to all the stakeholders. We did this ideation process where we got 60 to 80 stakeholders through from a range of industry, from past nurses, from past students, to prospective students, to teachers, to everyone we could possibly invite to come and share their insights on what's good about the Diploma of Nursing, but also what can be improved and what opportunities are there to make it better. And a lot of the stuff we found out from this was quite similar to some of the stuff Rosalie just mentioned about how there's that over-assessment. There's a lot of units approach. It's not a degree first approach. And it's really just, it's not as good as it could be. And so we identified a lot of opportunities to improve. And we grouped them all into a couple of different areas. So we found they want more job readiness experiences and more opportunities to go on placement. We found that they wanted improved processes. We found some academic bits and pieces. What we really found as one of the prevalent things is that the transferable skills that these nurses have or will be getting, they're not quite where we want them to be. So we want these graduates to be able to critically think, to work fantastically in a team, to problem solve, to adapt to a changing scenario. But we realized that's not really being taught in the training package. And so what we did is we found a lot of solutions and we focused on how can we fix as many of them as possible at once. And we redesigned as a desktop experiment the entire Diploma of Nursing start to finish. And we grouped it into three main areas: nursing theory, integrated nursing practice, and professional nursing practice. So we have these nice continuous themes all the way throughout your course. And so this was our vertical integration. We also made sure that there was nice scaffolding going across everything at the same time, so that if you were learning about diabetes in your classes about pathophysiology, you'd be learning about insulin and the drugs that can manage diabetes at a similar time in your meds classes. So we made sure to horizontally align everything. The problem is, though, when we redesign an entire Diploma of Nursing, as you're probably all aware, we can't just churn out a whole new version of Diploma of Nursing in the current environment, given the training packages. So what we did was we found a way where we could test a single unit of it. And the single unit that we tested, it had the following aims. It was aiming to improve the engagement within our nursing students, because we know that engaged learners develop their skills more, as well as engage their critical thinking, their communication, because there's quite a lot of previous research about engagement theory, creating better transferable skills. We aim to improve the safety of the nursing students, the development of their transferable skills, and we also try to explore what learning methods we can use to build these transferable skills to improve the engagement that can then be really scalable and applied quite broadly. And we tested each of these individually as well as the impact on the whole. And so what we have was our FutureReady slice.
Excellent, thank you. So with our FutureReady slice, we looked at different innovations and embedded them across a 13-week unit. The different areas we looked at were immersive simulation, innovative technology, some digital resources, gamification of learning, and also some key innovative teaching as well. So these were our main focus areas. And as Harrison said, these were the areas that we tested after the students had participated. So our first area that we tested was the use of immersive simulation. So this came up as a point that students actually wanted more of this simulation. They really wanted more clinical time and they wanted more of that hands-on experience. So one of the things that we did was look at how we can improve the simulation practices that we currently have. So we're quite lucky here at Holmesglen that it is embedded into all of our courses. But what we actually did was look at how can we scaffold this better. So some of the things that we brought into the simulation environment was different modalities, such as role plays, using part-task trainers and skills station setup. And then we actually brought some simulated participants into the labs where students can actually practice their skill of giving medications in a safe environment and get some feedback from the simulated participants on how they went. The students loved this approach because this wasn't assessed. This was purely for practice, and it really gave them a chance to practice from start to finish, not just giving the medications, but the communication and the collaboration around that and problem solving around that as well. The other immersive simulation that we built in was the virtual hospital. So we actually worked with some industry partners to create a virtual ward where students could actually orientate themselves to the hospital setting. This included looking around the rooms, understanding some key features from each of the different rooms in the hospital, meeting some multidisciplinary team members and how they would support patient care, and then actually meeting a patient receiving care in the ward where they could actually hear about the patient's journey and think about how they could consider where the patient came from and how we can get them home and discharged in a safe manner. The students really enjoyed the virtual hospital. It made them feel a lot more confident because they could actually see where they were going and think about how that learning or what they were learning in class and where that would be applied. So they really enjoyed those areas. Some innovative technology we looked at was the talking head videos. So these talking head videos were really aimed to break down complex information of pharmacology, so pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics, which are quite complex foundational knowledge that students need to be able to give medication safely. So we actually broke these concepts down into short snippet videos where it was broken in a way that students can actually digest the information. The students loved this type of learning. They remembered the quirky professor and the little animations that were placed in the videos. And then we developed more learning opportunities around this for our face-to-face sessions. So this was more for a pre-class version that we did. Other digital resources that we developed were engaging e-learns. So these e-learns were put in our pre-class work areas. And it was another way of moving away from those traditional teaching methods of chunked reading, PowerPoints. So what we actually did was create micro-learning e-learns where students would actually engage in different elements of the e-learn. So after they'd learned a little bit of information, then they could practice putting that into place either through a quiz or matching games, and they could work through that at a reasonable time frame. The students really liked this because it actually encouraged that active preparation of the work, and they were able to, again, chunk that information into smaller bite-sized pieces, which were a lot more manageable to digest. One of the biggest hits through this project was our gamification of learning. So for this element, we actually looked at a couple of different gamification methods. Our first was a very successful educational escape room, where students were placed in an escape room, which consolidated theory that they'd learned in the previous 6 weeks, and we put that theory into an escape room context. And then we also created 2 competitive revision challenges as well. These gamified experiences really highlighted and enhanced that peer-to-peer learning, which students loved, and really increased motivation. They had a lot of fun, and we actually found that this led to a lot of knowledge retention as well, because they were having fun as they were learning. Finally, the innovative teaching. We looked at different teaching strategies and sort of new simulation technologies or practices happening around the world, and forum theatres were one of those things that was just being piloted. Basically, a forum theatre allows students to rewrite the script of a scenario. So we create basically what not to do, and then the students get to watch actors play out the role of enrolled nursing students in the clinical environment and rewrite the script using the theory of how a scenario should be create or how it should play out. So they create a mastery version of that. The students absolutely loved these forum theatres. It allowed them to see how small actions could actually increase or could actually cause challenges or change practices for others. But it also allowed them to really see how that theory can be played out in practice.
And we then made sure we actually talked to the clinical facilitators and went, how are these students on placement? And we realized that they were exhibiting noticeably safe behavior, and they were able to understand the whys a lot more. So if they didn't know, they would actually be able to critically think and figure out how they could find out the information they needed. And we saw that the teachers also noticed the students being really engaged the whole way through, and enabled them to do a shift in how they taught from just teaching to facilitating the students on their own knowledge journey, which was really exciting. And so the main key findings was that gamification and immersive simulation, really fantastic ways to learn, and that we can do some innovation within a training package, but there's obviously a long way to go there. And we're obviously then applying this quite broadly to all our other units, including our Bachelor of Nursing, Social Inclusion. We're doing a bit more research on some of those things and how they specifically work and what kind of content is related to them. So I've got a bit more on our plate and lots more to do, but if anyone's interested, get in touch. And obviously thank you to everyone who participated along the way.
Great, thank you, Harrison and Kim. I think you might have a few people that'll be in contact with you to find out more about this interesting work you've been doing. Now I'm going to pass over to Sky, who will talk about the use of mixed reality technology and simulation to enhance learner engagement and promote readiness for nursing practice. Thanks, Sky.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, my mind's a little bit blown from all the other speakers. I've got lots of things happening in my mind about what we can do. So congratulations for your presentations. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Sky. I am the educational team leader at TAFE Queensland Gold Coast region, and I'm speaking to you today from Yugan country. And I'm here to share with you what we are doing with mixed reality applications in our Diploma of Nursing program. So mixed reality is a type of immersive technology, and it's a blend of virtual reality and augmented reality, and it creates a truly immersive learning experience. is being widely adopted in education and more recently in nursing education, where authentic experience is crucial to positive learning outcomes and also work readiness. So it's fair to say that the educational landscape has changed dramatically over the past decade or so, and using traditional teaching methods such as lectures and textbooks within a blended delivery model can create barriers to learning. Additionally, large and diverse student populations are demanding new ways of learning, and they are requiring increasing digital literacy and technology know-how, and our nursing profession is now in dire need of a large future-ready workforce. So mixed reality can assist with meeting some of these demands, and it can do it through interactive simulations that allow students to practice skills in a realistic and safe setting. This educational technique is authentic, it's experiential, and it reflects adult learning principles, which we know are optimal. It's an optimal choice for great outcomes and work readiness. So there are many, many different ways that mixed reality can be used in nursing education, and there's a few up on the screen here. So some of them are virtual patient simulations, interactive anatomy and physiology lessons, emergency response training. It can also guarantee exposure to pathologies and scenarios, and also to high risk and low frequency healthcare scenarios. Holographic patients can improve clinical judgment, clinical reasoning, and problem-solving skills without the risk to patient safety. And with increasing use of AI in that integration with virtual reality or mixed reality, students can start honing communication and non-technical skills as well. So at the Gold Coast campus, we have been fortunate enough to pilot holographic healthcare training. And over the past few years, we've been using Microsoft HoloLens headsets and a platform called GIGxR. And GIGxR is a company that specialises in holographic healthcare training. They have multiple applications and they're there to provide an immersive learning experience for both medical and nursing students. We've been using 3 of the applications. Holo Patient is a simulated holographic patient that is a 360-degree video of actors. The application has 14 different case studies or pathologies to choose from, and it can really help with bringing case study learning to life. It can be used as a complement or replacement to traditional patient simulation. And at the Gold Coast, we've been using it to try and scaffold learning from paper-based case studies, then to holographic simulations, and then to full immersive high-fidelity simulations in the clinical labs. Holo Human is a life-size experience of human anatomy and its structures, and the application provides interactive anatomy and physiology learning, where teachers can interact with students and also dissect and label 3-dimensional body systems and organs to promote better understanding of the human body. And the third application that is quite new to us is called Holo Scenario, and it's a fully immersive practical simulation for clinical decision-making and teamwork in the context of patient deterioration. So these applications are fully immersive when our students and our teachers are wearing the headset, so we can deliver it face-to-face in the classroom or in our clinical labs. We can also stream it to our online students, and there is also a companion app that comes along on the platform, so students can display these holograms via augmented reality at home or remotely from wherever they are. And this flexibility is tied in really nicely with our blended delivery model, where students can choose to study face-to-face, online, or a mixture of both. So I have some short clips here just to illustrate what holographic patient simulations can look like. And this one is the Holo Patient. So here we have students interacting and observing a patient with a heart condition. It's a 360-degree hologram, so students can walk all the way around the patient, and we've overlaid this patient in our clinical labs. The scenario provides an immersive experience of patient deterioration in a safe setting, and it provides that opportunity for critical thinking and application of knowledge and skill that we know is required for safe patient care in practice. They can watch a patient deteriorate and learn, and which is not something that we can do ethically in practice. And students can work together to diagnose, assess, and nurse the patient, and then see the outcomes of their clinical decisions in real time. It's also a really great way to guarantee student exposure to different patient pathologies. The next application we use is called Hollow Human, and this is the anatomy and physiology lesson. It can complement or possibly replace wet lab or cadaveric learning. And here you can see my colleague adding layers of different body systems and selecting structures to remove and look at them more closely. The application has 11 different body systems in it. And you can look at them as close as you like. You can remove the skeleton and just focus in on an organ, and students can even stick their heads inside the heart and have a look at the valves and the atria and the ventricles up close. The app also has 4,500 named and described structures in it, and it can also be utilised in the labs, in the classroom, or remotely via the app. So field research and our own experience this far has shown the following benefits. So mixed reality can improve engagement, retention, and decision-making skills. It allows for students to repeat procedures without risk for that deliberate practice that they need for competency, and then to also increase their self-efficacy and their confidence. Studies have indicated that mixed reality enhances learning outcomes, with students reporting higher engagement and confidence. And universities that integrated mixed reality into their clinical programs saw an increase in skill proficiency. It also can assist in navigating resource issues for remote delivery or blended delivery like we have at TAFE Queensland. So some of the things that our students are saying, it feels very realistic. I could really see and feel what a real patient situation would be like, and I feel like a real nurse. It was a great learning experience. And from the educator perspective, the visual impact of the Hollow patient is equal to 1,000 describing words. So again, really bringing that case study type learning to life. And my favourite feedback from an educator has been that listening and watching the students problem solve while using the platform and seeing their light bulb moments is extremely rewarding. So what's next for us? So after the pilot at Gold Coast, it was decided to integrate this technology statewide. And in the past 6 to 9 months, our immersive technology team has worked really hard to roll out these applications to all of our campuses across the state that deliver the Diploma of Nursing. We have 60 headsets available statewide. And at any one time, we've got about 4,000 students that are enrolled in the Diploma of Nursing. So for us, next is the continual training and upskilling of both staff and students with using the immersive technology and further embedding it into our curriculum. Looking at doing some research or a case study using mixed reality and what the outcomes are on placement or out in community working with patients. Expanding use to other health qualifications, which has already commenced in pathology, allied health assistance and health administration. And our technology team is exploring further uses for the immersive technology and the Microsoft HoloLens. So in summary, integrating this immersive technology into our program brings new meaning to authentic and experiential learning and enhances engagement with content for our Diploma of Nursing students. And I'd highly encourage rolling the dice and reimagining curriculum and what immersive technology can do for your learners and our future-ready workforce. Thank you.
Thanks, Sky.
No worries.
So we've had 4 very interesting presentations. There's been a flurry of questions in the Q&A that have been answered live, particularly for Rosalie. There were a lot of questions about curriculum, and it was really interesting to hear about that kind of holistic view of all the different parts of that make up I guess a nursing role, and then moving into the qualification and how we might look at potentially revamping that for the future. Some approaches that the enacted curriculum, so where the teachers have been actually, you know, taking things into their own hands and getting the students, making sure that they've got the opportunity to be future ready. I guess we haven't got a lot of time for questions, but I thought we did have, so I wanted to say thank you to Francis, Rosalie, Harrison, Kim and Sky. It was just fantastic, and I would have liked to have heard lots more from all of you, and I'm sure that people will get in contact contact if they have. Yes, we definitely will be sending out the recording, but I think certainly something to think about is the impact, as we've seen today, on the changing environment in which nurses work, potentially changing workforce scope, and how do we keep pace with the qualification, the curriculum, and embedding that into delivery. So you've had a bit of a snippet of each of those. We even looked at how some of these things can develop critical thinking. So I want to say thank you very much to all of you. Thank you to the audience for your participation. There's been a lot of chat in the chat box as well, so a lot of questions answered in there. We have another big event coming up on the 4th of June at 2 p.m. Clean Energy Futures, powered by TAFE. That's our next TAFE Talks. I hope that you can join me then. Thanks, everybody, and I'll say goodbye for now. Thank you.